And how's it going, guys? This is Kid here with the Chicago Chess Club. Welcome back to another video here where I'm going to be displaying two games that I played very well here at the Chicago Chess Center in their Friday Blitz section every Fridays. So if you guys want to come through every Friday starting from 6 p.m. all the way to when it ends, we will see you guys here. But nonetheless, if you guys really want to see more videos like this, please hit the like button, comment down below what else you guys want to see on this channel, any different kinds of formats, you know, things like that, where I should go in the city of Chicago or anywhere in the United States of America, and let me know by commenting down below. And honestly, I'm really excited because, you know, I haven't been posting for a while here on YouTube, but I really do miss you guys, and I really am very grateful for the support. My birthday is coming up, so hopefully we will see you then for the May 15th tournament that is happening again at Back of the Arts. Nonetheless, if you guys take a look around at the screen, you'll see another new logo, and that is because we're going to be using the Take app for this video. Now, it is very worth noting that the Take app followed the Chicago Chess Club on Instagram, which is awesome. I'm really grateful. So thank you guys so much for the follow, and I really hope that you guys I won't let you guys down, truly. But yeah, so thank you guys again. Please, if you guys haven't done so already, please download the Take app. The link will be provided down below. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started with game number, I do believe this is game number 4 out of the 10 games that I played. And, you know, today my record was 4 out of 10. Hey, I'm not even gonna complain, because I had a brilliant move in one of the games, and then I beat someone that was 1224. I am 976 currently, so there's no complaints here, no complaints whatsoever. So this is a new format, so I do apologize if, you know, there's some mistakes and things like that. We're gonna keep this video nice and short, so that way you guys can still pay attention and see how exciting the game of chess is. And I'm pretty sure if you're watching this, you're interested in chess and want to learn chess and things like that, or watch me lose. Anyways, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. I'm going to say their first name, Xian, and I was playing white in this game, right? And of course, the Take app says that I played the Lenin system, which is true. So I did play d4, knight f6, and then bishop to f4. All right, bishop f4, and then g6 was played, then knight c3, bishop to f5, and then later I played knight, or what's going on here? That's the engine moves. Okay, that's the engine moves. Okay, I got to make sure that I read carefully here. So I played e3, and then bishop to g7 was played by my opponent, right? And so as you can see, I'm not really used to it. I'm trying to look at the squares and things like that, but you know, I'm looking at this and you know, but hey, I still love the app because, man, awesome. So as we go on, right, you know, the game is still relatively equal and things like that, and then we witness our first mistake, and that mistake was because of me, right? And so this one stings. The rook move allows black to challenge the center with pawn to e5, setting up a winning fork after e4 attacks both the bishop and the knight. I am forced to lose a piece. Now, instead of playing e4 myself, I would have secured the center, right? I could have secured the center, and I could have kept the position balanced, but I did not do that. Thank you, Take app, for like noting that, right? But man, I should have played something in the center, because I know that in the London, the e5 square is the treasure spot. You know what I'm saying? But they didn't play it, right? And of course, it's also worth noting that this was 3 minutes and 2 second increments, right? So, you know, obviously when you're playing blitz games, you're not going to remember theory. You're not going to remember all those other things, right? You'll remember theory perhaps in the opening, right? But then, you know, it's a blitz game, right? So we got to go fast, right? And so as we go on, you know, after this move in particular, queen to e7, right? I do apologize. Queen to e7. That was, according to the Take app, a bad move, right? Because now it allows me to do knight to g5, right? Because now I see that I can check my opponent with the bishop right there. And man, look at this. I love this so much. Like, look, It's worth noting that the take app is seeing the threat and things like that, the X-rays, things like that, and boom, the opponent did a mistake. Bishop to f6. Man, you guys are gonna fry me in the comments. Bishop to f6, and then I go to bishop to f7, checking the opponent. The opponent is forced to move the king, and then I take the rook. Now, in the video, I did hesitate. I hesitated to move like my knight, but then I was like, wait, the rook is right there, right? And so then they take back with the rook, and so now I move the knight away so that way it doesn't get captured by the bishop. And then they start moving their queen a little more forwards because they want to target, I do believe they wanted to target the h3 square in the long run, right? But as you can see, I'm pretty sure if I could just move this just a little up, you'll see that the evaluation, sorry, give me 1 second. You'll see that the majority of this game, I pretty much kept it to my advantage, right? And so as we go on, I do believe this was like a 76 move game and things like that. We're gonna go here, there, boom, boom. It was pretty, I mean, that was a bad move for sure. I mean, rook to f4, didn't really quite see it. The computer is notating that rook a to d1 is a better move, centralizing my rooks, but of course I didn't do that. Instead, I just said, listen, I just want to move my rook up so that way I can double up, move my rook that is on the a square to the e square so that way I could double up, right? Now, I did see that though. Hold on. I did see the bishop, right, checking my king because they could have won the rook, right? Had they moved here, right, I am forced to take and then my rook is officially gone, right? Of course, that didn't happen, right? And so when we go back, that didn't happen because they moved their knight to f6 so that way they can attack my rook. And I was like, you know what? We might as well trade rooks, right? And that's exactly what I did. Rook takes bishop, rook takes rook, knight takes rook. And so now the queen is now going to take the knight that is on e5. Right, and so now we're left in this position, right? So a queen and rook game is against a queen and knight game is pretty much winning, right? That's if you don't blunder, right? And so I do believe that in this I was pretty much running low on time, right? And then boom, I take the rook that was on the a square to the e1 square so that way I could threaten the queen. Queen moves away, and so I move my queen up to e3 so that way I can now double up and try and take the queen off the board. They do move their knights to d5. I just check. I wanted to check so that way I could get the queens off the board and make sure I could take the pawns and things like that, and boom, there it goes. Boom, 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 boom. Now, in the end game, when you're going up again, now I'm also rated 976, right? So take everything that I say with a grain of salt because, you know, I just love the game of chess. I can commentate on the game of chess and things like that, but I'm not really a professional yet because I'm going to be saying things that possibly don't make sense, right? But then they also take the knight off. They also take the pawn. Do you see how I just literally just said it? Anyways, they take the pawn that was on c3. They're also threatening my rook, so I gotta get away with, and I choose the right square, right? And so they also take the other pawn and things like that. And I'm thinking, man, they're about to gobble up. But then I remember I have a check. And so I'm going to take away that pawn that is on the a2 or a7 square. And so they decide to move their king away. Now the computer did suggest to go forward, right? So that way you can give your king some space to breathe, I do believe, right? They move away, and so now that pawn is mine, right? And so knight goes to c3. As we go forward, we go on. I'm trying to take away this pawn, and I'm still trying to make sure that there's still pressure on this. I can't really show you, but I'm still trying to make sure. Oh, okay, I could do that. I'm still trying to put some pressure on this pawn right here so it doesn't move up, right? And so the king moves forward. I move my king forward. They're now they're moving with their king. They're moving with their king, making sure that they can at least get close to my pawn so they can get rid of it, right? And so boom, this is pretty much how it goes, right? Now, when they moved their king forward right there, I saw the pawn that was available to take on a7, so I did do just that, right? And so making sure that they have less chances of queening in the future, right? But remember, they still have a knight, and knights are very tricky, right? So now they move their king all the way to c5. They're getting closer to my pawn, and I'm pretty sure their next move is going to be king to b4, so that way they can capture my pawn. I move my rook right behind on g7, so that way I can target the g6 pawn. As you can see on the Take app, it does show you the explanation, which is awesome. But yeah, so yep, king to b4 is played, and so very imminently the pawn that is on b3 is going to be gone. And so after I take the pawn that was on g6, the king takes the pawn, and so now this is where it gets interesting. I do remember playing a game against someone here. I believe that I don't know. I don't really recall his name, but I was exactly in the position like this, right? But I blundered. I blundered incorrectly because my king wasn't close to my pawns, and so very instinctively I remembered, wait, I can sacrifice the rook at some point in this game, and guess what? As Gotham Chess once said, I saw this, and I'm calculating. I can take away their pawn, so that way they can only have their knight and king left on the board, while I have my 3 pawns and 3 opportunities to queen. And lo and behold, the brilliant move of this game was the rook sacrifice. Very small sacrifice. But the Take app says it's a brilliant move, right? And as you can see, you'll see the explanation right there. King takes rook, and so now we have to make sure that we are very careful in how we monitor our pieces, because we want to make sure that we at least get one of the pawns to queen, right? And so we go forward, right? We're going to make click, click, click. I love the sounds that the app makes. Okay, now, this was a bad move, right? Giving me the full advantage, right? Because now I can move my pawn, and now their only move is to check, right? And they didn't check. I forgot. I think they did check at one point in this game, but the computer did suggest that on the last move, my opponent should have checked, because if they did check, I can move up, and then they could probably take that, pawn right here, right? I'm pretty sure the pawn, yeah, they could take that pawn right there. I take the queen, or I take the knight. Right? And things like that, But that's what the computer did suggest, right? So we go here, right? I move the pawn forward, closer to queening, and so now they decide to check me, and I was like, let's move forward, right? And so we are very close to getting our queen, right? Boom. They finally gave away their knight. I take it. They take my pawn. I march the pawn forward. Then they move their king away, or move their king forward. In this position, you have to be very careful, right? Because time is also a factor. I want to make sure that time is also a factor here. Time is also a factor. If I had moved my king anywhere else, if I moved my king forward right there on h7 or h8, then I would have lost the pawn. It would have been a draw, right? You have to move forward with the pawn to promote, or you could have done this as well. You could have done that as well, making sure that you're still protecting that pawn no matter what. Let me exit this variation. But instead I queen. So now we're going to introduce to you guys what is called suffocation. Suffocation in a king and queen endgame, you gotta make sure the king goes to the last file, whether it be on this file, right? Whether it be the A file or the H file, or the A file or the number 1 row and things like that, but it has to be the last file. You gotta suffocate the king. All right, so then we go boom, boom, boom. This is pretty stand forward, right? You got to make sure the king does not get closer to the center as much as possible, right? And so in this position right here, you got to move the king forward. Now, I made a mistake. Or my opponent did make a mistake, right? I should have at least moved my queen a little forward right there, right? Because it was mate in 2, right? But I didn't do that, right? But when you're facing the opponent with a king and queen and just versus a king, you gotta suffocate the king. You gotta not give him more spaces to breathe, right? Let me exit this variation right now. Okay. And so, finally, my opponent decides to move all the way to a6, king to a6, and now the final blow. Boom. Queen to a1, checkmate. This was a really great game. I applaud my opponent because she was really, wow, like it was amazing to see, and just, wow, yeah. And her rating, according to the USCF tournament today, was 281. It's way higher than that. It's got to be way higher than that. So I applaud you. So I appreciate you playing the game with me. And on to the next game right here. Now, I'm going to show you this game right here. I played against, wow, my opponent played a brilliant move too. Wow, so Noah. So Noah here is one of the other players here, and he was rated 1224. I'm rated 976. You flip those two last numbers, you know what you get. So, this was a comeback though. This was a comeback. Now, I'm going to go ahead and, just play the sequence, right? As we go, boom, 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 Obviously, you guys know what happens in the middle game, right? It's still pretty much equal, right? This is where it gets interesting, because when he moved the knight here, right? I was thinking, look at this. Look at how the take app just says, there's threats, my boy. That was a brilliant move. And I was like, well, I didn't even know that it was a brilliant move. All I just saw was a free knight, and it was, right? But then they blundered. But instead of taking the pawn, I was like, let me just move my queen back. Folks, if you see a free pawn, you gotta take the free pawn, so that way these pawns right here in the bottom, they can at least promote somehow in the future. Anyways, they blundered right here. Boom. It's still within my advantage and things like that. We're gonna move forward and things like that. Boom, boom, boom. This is where, you know that pawn that I didn't take? I finally took it. And it was a blunder. I saw that my opponent could play knight takes c6. They could take my bishop. But they didn't. And it was mate in one. This was a roller coaster. This was insane. I should have lost. For sure. I saw that when I took that free pawn, I saw knight takes bishop. And it was over. Because if the knight takes on bishop, right? Any move that I made, right? I could have done, let's just say here. I could have done here to like possibly take the queen off the board. But then they have mate in one. But that's not what happened. That's not what happened. They made the mistake by playing knight to d7. And that ultimately gave me the chance to put mate on the board. And it's a great feeling when you're playing players that are above you, ELO-wise. And wow, like, it was amazing. It was really amazing to get a win from someone that is 300 plus points above me. But Noah was a great sport. Of course, he applauded the performance, and after that game, I lost to him, right? But man, that game, oof, man, that second game, he was like, I'm not letting that slide. He defeated me. Ugh, it was nasty, right? But that's pretty much all for today, guys. All the games that I played today against opponents today will be available on the Take app. So make sure you guys download the Take app. And yeah, so guys, that's pretty much it for today. Again, my score today was 4 out of 10, 4 wins out of the 10 games. I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy. At least I got some wins today. And yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys did enjoy this, please hit the like button, comment down below what do you guys want to see on this channel, any other formats, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care now and have a great rest of your night, morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you might be. Peace.